Hey guys, Igor here, and in this video we are going to tackle this barrel table. So let's move this aside and let's dive into our barrel geonetwork. And let's make sure we are positioned in the right direction. And also I will delete this match size and I will use my tube primitive as a starting point. So I just want to invoke the tube primitive and make sure that I'm not using end caps. And I will also make column numbers to be 24, so double the resolution. And then the rows, I will set my rows to, I think, 5. Yes, 5 will be enough because I want to use these edges for these things here, for these rings. Now, even though there are 2 rings on the concept, I think 3 rings looks much better. So let's begin. Luckily, when we added the more columns on the tube, we managed to get this board exactly where we need it. So what I will do, I will select these polygons, and with Control I will invert selection and just delete everything else. And now from this polygon, we will, or from this set of polygons, we will create a board and then start working from there. Also, I need these edges for the loop, and I will also use subdivide to make things even more smoother. So this is also going to be a kind of support for subdivisions. So let's select everything and let's make an extrusion. Now this doesn't matter, you can choose any number you like for now, or sorry, any distance you want, but for now this will be fine. And make sure that we set our output back as enabled, and this is our starting point for now. So the next step, I think I want to do a bevel here. See, let's select everything and make a bevel. I will need one more division, so with scroll wheel you can add more divisions. So, and we will also use crease in this case because I want to make hard edges from these. And of course I don't need these edges, so we can always create exclusion and make sure that we are not beveling edges we don't need. So yeah, I think that will be okay. And I think I'm going to need one more edge loop here in the middle. So let's make sure that this is in the middle. And yeah, we will get the better bevel here than when we are using subdivision, because I'm having more support. Actually, we can check how this will look. And yeah, that looks nice, especially if we add normal. That will look just fine. Yeah, it looks perfect. Nice. So let's delete these two. And let's continue. So for the next step, what I want to do is I want to duplicate all of these. And there is actually a really nice, it is an expression, but don't fear, just follow me, and I think you will be using this pretty often. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why this is not set as some kind of tick box or checkbox or drop-down menu to be enabled, but yeah, for now we need to use a little expression. But first we need to make sure that we are resetting our pivot to 0. So instead of manually positioning your pivot here, just hover over this pivot translate and with Control middle mouse button reset everything, and we can see that now the pivot of this copy node is now set to 0, 0, 0 coordinate system. And what we need here is we need to rotate this board around the Y axis. So that's very important. So let's make it round for 360. So you can use Control and just snap it here. And you can see here that it's a 360, or here we can follow the values and just leave it there. And now we can see that we did rotation for 360 on the Y axis. And of course, this doesn't work. You know, nothing is happening. But now if I'm hovering over the total number, press right mouse button and then make sure to copy this parameter. So we are copying this parameter expression basically. So the next thing we should do is here in this field, Y field of rotate, just add divide and then right mouse button and paste relative reference, which will basically paste the expression or the value of this field. So whenever I change this total number here, this channel NCY will update to this number. So what happens then is we are always dividing this 360 rotation with the number of total number of this value. So if I'm adding these numbers, now we can see which effect we are getting. We are basically making sure that everything is evenly spaced here. So we can add these boards and we can make sure that they are fitting perfectly beside one another, which is great. Why I didn't use tube to just extrude and everything is because, well, I think this is much easier to do, and yet another nice trick for you to learn. So yeah, I think it's just better to do it like this than trying to do everything from the tube. So now we have this nice barrel shape which we can then work upon. So here is another problem. We have this problem here, which obviously there is a gap that shouldn't be. So what we can do, we can go back to our poly extrude, activate transform extrude front, and then in a scale mode, while our poly extrude is still active, so you can also active this with F, okay? We can just move this upon X-axis and close this gap. How cool is that? So now you can see that everything fits nicely, perfectly, and our problem is solved here. So let's go back to our copy node and let's deselect everything and see what we want to do next. Okay, so the next thing I need and I want to do is I want to make these rings. So how can I do this? Well, unfortunately here right now I cannot use these edges to do. I mean, I could find a way, but it wouldn't be it really wouldn't be the most appropriate way or the fastest way or even convenient. So what I can do is I can actually go back to my tube and reuse it. And what I will do, I will activate my tube. I'll also select it and select these edge loops. And I will use my labs edge group to curve. Now, fortunately, this snaps or this node is appended to where we don't need it. So what I will do, I will just put it aside like this and make sure that my tube is connecting with this node stream. And then this node stream is basically exactly where I need it. And also so that you can see what's happening, I will make sure that this copy node is templated. So either you can hit this or with E on your keyboard, you can enable template or disable it. So now we can see what's actually happening. And because we made an extrusion here, we can see that our curves are, well, they're not fitting to the outside. So what we can do there? Well, let's do this. Let's select these edges. By the way, why I'm able to select these edges or curves is because under template, I cannot select the geometry that is templated. So if I would make this geometry visible template with W, so you press W, your keyboard, or basically hold it, and then you can see that you can make this on and off like this. So that's good to know. So this template is not selectable. You cannot select any primitives, but with selectable template, with W, you can now select all the primitives or components, sorry. So let's make this visible so that you can see what's happening. And then from here, let's continue. So what I will do, I will actually first select these edges or curves. Actually, like in Houdini, everything is a point. So basically this is an edge to, it's not like in Cinema or any other software where you have splines as a separate objects. In Houdini, basically point, edges, and primitives are all the same. Everything is a side effect of a point, so which actually makes Houdini very, very good. And now what I will do, I will just use my lab thickens and make sure to extrude it on both sides and just go into minus so that my normal direction is in direction of outside direction. So now you can choose the thickness or the height of these rings, which I think this will be fine. And what I will do is I will use, now the problem here is that, again, these rings are inside, but I need them outside. So okay guys, we are back, so we can continue. Fortunately we crashed, but luckily with open crash file we are where we was. It's very convenient. So let's see. So with the thickness enabled, yeah, what we could do in selection mode, we could, yeah, do this manually, but nah. We're gonna do this Houdini way. So what we can do is we can actually use this extrude and connect this extrude to this node stream, and now we have almost a perfect match here. Actually, there should be a perfect match, but something happened. Let's see. Okay, this scale also was copied, so we need to make sure. You remember we use this transform extrude front, so we need to make sure that this is off, and now we have this perfect outside match, which is exactly what we need. But the next problem is that now we have these polygons we don't need. Well, luckily with this extrude node we can deal with this easily. So let's make sure that we don't have enabled output side, or that we don't have enabled output back. And now we can again double click. I don't need this. So in selection mode, let's double click or select everything, and with Q, or we'll have to invoke our poly extrude again and extrude now. And now we invoked for some reason this extrude, which I don't know why. So let's try again. Okay, now we have a different extrude. Now we extrude, and now we make sure that we have output back, and here we go. Now we have this perfectly matched ring around this object. Very, very cool. So obviously here I also want to make sure that I have some support edges in between, so I can add division, one division here, which will fit in this middle. And manually, or we could actually also do, let's see, I'm not gonna use divisions. Let me use, I'll just press N to select everything, and let's use polybevel. And of course, I need to make sure, I don't know why this happens, just Houdini stuff. And let's use crease. Choose amount you want and make sure that you exclude these edges which we don't need to be creased. So now we added our supports for our subdivision later. Maybe we could add one more support in the middle, but I think it's not going to be necessary. So I think it's okay to just move on from here. Okay. So the next thing, so either I will choose to do, let's see. So now we can go and make this part, or I decide to make this nice curve here. So let me think about it. Let's go with the curve first. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to make sure that we actually connect or merge these two. Like this. Let's press L to organize this a bit better, and let's position this to be like this. Okay, nice. So before I actually do a deform here, I'll just subdivide everything to see how it looks. And I think this looks nice. Make sure that we don't use this as a template. And yeah, everything seems to be very nice. Even though maybe here is a bit too much polygons, but we can clean this later. So what I can do is I can go to my point mode, select everything, and then in the form, let's use Lattice. Now Lattice is a bit confusing. It can be a bit confusing. So I just invoked the Lattice, but well, nothing happened. So what you need to do is just, once you invoke your Lattice, just press enter. And that's it. You're almost done. Now, we now created this cage, which will be used as our, well, the forming cage. So for X and Z divisions, I'll make sure to set number to 1, and then for Y, I'll just use 1 division. Like this. So this is the cage we are going to use as our deformation point. So, and basically this is what happens when you invoke your Lattice. Now, what was confusing is, okay, what now? Like, how can I actually do something here? Like, if I'm selecting these, okay, this doesn't work, right? Well, what you need to do, you need to deform from this transform node. So select this node, and now you can see that we have these points in our viewport, and we can select them. If those points are not visible after you select this node, which can happen, just ignore and just make a selection, and then you will be able to see your points. It's just probably the refresh issue, and you're gonna be able to make your changes. So invoke, scale, you will get this edit node, which is perfectly fine, and then just scale or deform your barrel. And yeah, now we are getting somewhere, aren't we? In case you have issues here, you can always go back to your first extrude and make sure that, let me just show you this. So You go back. If you invoke with enter your extrude, your transform extrude front is enabled, as you can see here. And you can see that there is different outline for this primitive now. And if we change here the values or the scale, we can see that everything else is updating and changing, which is pretty dope, pretty nice. We can also play with our bevel. So if you don't like it, we can change it. And everything updates, which is great. And why here is nothing changing is because it's on totally different node stream and it's merging after all of these. So what we can do on this side is also make an extrusions. And also we can freeze things as we see fit. Very, very nice. Okay, so let's continue from here. Let's deselect everything. And now what I want to do, now don't worry about these are just viewport issues, so there is nothing wrong, just too many points. You can see that everything looks fine when we zoom in. So now I need this table. So what we can do? Well, again, once more, we can go all the way back, and once again, we can use this tube, simply because we didn't change the shape or height. So here we can again select this part, and now we can actually do this from here. We can copy this and activate and just change a group. And now from here, what we can do, let's see if Polyfill will work. Of course it will, because Houdini does not know the difference between curves, polygons, and points. It's all the same for the Houdini. And let's see, because actually, if you see here, we have a kind of challenge here now. We need boards. So I cannot really use my single polygon or triangle fan. I really need to find a way to make this circular while I'm maintaining these boards. So we'll have to do some workarounds because I don't want to use boolean here and so on. So I'll actually use a single polygon here. I just wanted to get a polygon here, okay? So what I can do next is I'll just extrude everything outside a bit. Not there, but outside. Okay, so if this doesn't work, let's make this 0 and let's use our F, our front transform. And with scale, just extrude outside. Now again, this will be enough resolution for things to be decently shaped in a circle. So yeah, I think that will be just fine. Now I will delete this part, and what I will do, I will bridge between these. Oh, not delete, sorry. So poly bridge, select destination, press enter, and that's it. So this will be my first board. So let's create a second. We can press Q after selection to repeat, and then can do same, Q, enter. And we can close this later, but so let's continue with this side. Q, enter, select, Q, select destination, enter. And now we can just select these and just polyfill. And why this isn't working? Because our fill mode is set to quadrilates. I don't know how to read this, sorry. And it's actually we need even number of edges, so that's why I need a single polygon, and this should work. Let's see why this is not working. Maybe from here. No. Okay, this is weird. Okay, then we're just gonna do this differently. Maybe something else happened. Maybe because my bridge was invoked. So let's see, this should work. Huh. Yay. Sorry guys. Nope. Okay. Never mind. Let's delete this part. And this is actually the odd thing now that we are seeing these edges like this, which should not be seen. But let me see. Yeah, okay. That's very interesting, to be honest. What happens if I delete? Huh. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there, but what we can do to fix this is just add a loop here. We need a loop here anyway. And I can just scale this like that, or select these two and just make this something like this, and I think that will be just fine. Okay. So now we are going to go into the laser mode and pick every second edge loop. And you've guessed it, we're gonna cusp this. And now we are having these boards separated. So now I can select everything and extrude. To something like this. Output back. Let's see how this fits here with template. Looks fine. And the next thing I need to do, select everything and again make another bevel. Crease. Make sure that I'm not beveling all the edges here. So exclude things we don't need. And yeah, I think that will be okay. Maybe for this we can even use round, because maybe we don't actually need to make this under the subdivision, but yeah, let's just do it and see what happens later. You can always make changes. So let's see. So what happens if I make a bevel a bit stronger, or the crease? Go back. Yeah, this seems to be just fine. Not perfect, but yeah, with some more tweaking, we can definitely get better looking results. But I'm happy with this, to be honest. So let's continue. Press L. And now, obviously we need this to be a bit bigger, so let's select everything, and I will use transform and just make it like this bigger. And also I can make this transform as a control, desk boards. You can name it as you like. And I'll just signal to myself that this is some kind of control. But don't forget, with Shift T, I can always go here and say control, and then I always have this available. So that's so far so good, don't you think? So let's connect these two now. And yeah, so far I think we are looking great. Now I want to make these bolts. So let's pick from where. I think I'm going to go with these, duplicate, and we can make it smaller here. This is kind of super sensitive, so I'll just go to selection and with T activate the edit node, and then Shift C to make circle, and make sure to move this back a bit and just scale it down to something like this. And let's extrude it, then let's bevel it. Now you can, I don't know, maybe we can also make a bevel or make this a bit more, I don't know. Let's see if I bevel inside a bit, not bevel, sorry. If I extrude this inside, what will happen? I should not waste time on this, but hey, the tutorial, so why not? So just extrude a little bit inside. With F, let's toggle our transform, extrude front, and then bring this inside a bit. And yeah, I think that looks good. It's some kind of bolt, screw, whatever. Let's bring it back. Maybe we can close the back. And yeah, everything looks perfect. Maybe we can also bevel here. I could hide everything, but yeah, just do it like this. And now bring everything back. Just eyeball, it really doesn't matter. And now what I will do is, first I will mirror this here, okay. And why is this perfect match? Because, well, we are working right in the center, so mirror is perfectly mirroring this. But because these two are under the angle, if I copy this now, what I can't really position this easily, so what I can do, either use my orient picking or use my align component. So in this case, let's see, this could work, but let's go with align component just for the sake of the tutorial. So we can just bring this wherever we want, select the geometry, and then just activate align component, and then we are selecting our butt cheek. So let's see, I want this point. So you can use any component mode to sit on, I think this point here. Boom. And voila, now we have this bolt perfectly sitting where we want. So now let's go to our polygon mode, select these three, duplicate, let's reset our pivot transfer to 0, 0, 0. Now our axis is not correct, so with M, let's see if we can find a better suiting gizmo. And of course we can, so now we can choose where we want this, so 30 degrees. we can repeat here. So let's say 360. It's always 360 if you want this effect that these things always fix perfectly. So you're always using 360 rotate, and then you're copying total number parameter and just here pasting the relative reference, apply, and here then we can see that we are getting exact amount evenly spread around the barrel, which is great. And the last part that we need to do is just these here. So let's see how we can actually do these. So what I can do is I can again go back and use my tube, but what will I actually do, because now we are having this kind of a mess here of a lot of nodes, we can actually select this tube, press Ctrl C, and then here let's add object merge node. And now in this field, let's paste what we copied. So we copied the tube and let's accept. And now if we activate this merge node, we are getting the same thing that we would get if we activate this tube, which is kind of super cool because now we are much easier to organize. So what I need now is, again, I just need this curve here, and it labs edge group to curve. Okay, I need to make sure that this node is selected and displayed. And now click, double click, select, and now we have this curve, which we will again double click, and let's make a template from here, and let's use transform and bring it up. And then on this curve, let's use our, where is it? Sweep, sorry. And just press double enter or once. Now we are not seeing anything right now, and we have this warning here because our surface shape is by default set to second input cross section, which means that we would need, for the cross section, we would need something to come from the second input or in the second input, but we don't need this, so we can use either round tube or square tube, depends what you need, but we need round tube. Or even ribbon. Ribbon is also nice if you want something like this. So, in our case, this is what we need, and we need obviously radius to be a bit lower. And also with this transform, we can make sure that our scale is a bit bigger. And that's it. Now, if you think that there is not enough resolution on this, you can always either use subdivide, or what you can do with, before you're actually sweeping, you can use resample node. And either use maximum distance here, or maximum segments, which will add the resolution to your curve, and make sure to use subdivision curves, and everything will be much more smoother. Now here we are having the problem, so what we can also do after here, we can just try fuse. So add fuse here and see will this help. If fuse doesn't help there, it might help here. So that could help. So now we have this nice continuous shape, and the last thing we need to do is add these four vertical, I don't know what they are, details. And how we can do this? Well, we can do this in the same way as we did the bolts, so we can just duplicate, make this smaller. If this doesn't work, just go to selection and then press T, Shift C to make a circle, make this smaller. If this is not in the center, we can move it to the center. Something like this. This doesn't seem to be... Okay, so let's move this a bit. Even though this doesn't really matter. And obviously this needs to be smaller, so let's see. I think this would work. Yeah. So now just extrude. Now because this object here is not completely flat, to make it flat, we can go to a scale and just make sure that this scale is set or brought to 0 here. And now everything will be flat. And now we can make an extrusion to somewhere here. And let's just output front disable so that we don't have the front face or the cap enabled. And again, select everything, duplicate, and let's reset pivot with Control middle mouse button, and then instead of using the expression, we can do it like this. Add 2 more total numbers, and that's pretty much it, guys. And the nice thing is, if I now, let's first connect everything. So if you press L in your node network, you'll pretty much always make sure that the different node streams, their last nodes are aligned with each other. So that's kind of convenient, even though your up network could be a bit screwed, but we don't need anything from up node stream, so we can just do this. Merge everything. Let's make sure to disable everything, every other template that we have, and then we are getting this. Now we can do some cleanup because there is a bit too much polygons here, especially for example, game engine. So we will just go inside and clean everything, no problem. But I'm not gonna do this for this tutorial. You can do this on your own. We are not doing this for the game engine. But yeah. The last thing actually I want to show you is one nice thing that, let me just see, where did I copy these bolts? So yeah, I made a mirror and then transform here, and then I copied all of these. So now instead of selecting all of these bolts and creating material, what we can actually do, we can, in this copy, we can actually output group prefix and say bolts, or screws, I don't know. And what we can do is we can make a group, or we can actually use material right away, just to show you. And I can actually use this complete group, but there is actually too much of these bolts. So what we can do, we can use group combine. Let's see, group combine. So instead of having a lot of bolts, we can use a new name and say bolts, and then here choose all of these. And now if I go and create material, I should have only one group here. And if I would now just to demonstrate, I will use color node. Oops. Now all of these bolts with this bolts group should be, yeah, colored. So that's kind of neat. And because we have all of these bolts left, what we can do, we can actually use group delete. And let me see here, like this, before material or the color. We can say which group we want to delete. Well, we want to delete everything so that we don't have to choose all of this one by one. We can delete everything, but leave bolts. And now if we check here, we only are left with the bolts group. So very powerful. This sign is always saying everything. So that's it. Whatever whenever you're using this sign, you're telling Houdini, well, now depending what you want to do, of course, in this case we are deleting groups. It says delete every group. But then with this sign here, as a, I think, suffix, not prefix, suffix, you're saying leave or exclude this group. So delete everything but exclude the bolts group, which then in the end leave us with our bolts group, which is this. So now we can use this and say here as bolts. Go to our materials. Oops, not lops, sorry. Let's go back to our materials and say standard. Say bolts. Let's make this smaller. Let's just make some other color. Doesn't really matter. Also metalness. And now if I go back and say in this material group, I choose bolts. Now I have a sign pretty easily without have to select all these bolts. I managed to assign this material on everything just because of this copy node and this output group prefix, which is why Houdini is so powerful and which is why groups are so powerful in Houdini. This goes for basically every node. Now if I want to, let's say, subdivide, because there is nothing in a group, Houdini thinks that we need to subdivide everything. But if I choose bolts as my subdivision group, now I am subdividing, well, only the bolts. So that's really cool, guys. And really powerful once you start to actually understand how this works. So it's all about groups, selecting groups, and applying these groups to these nodes. Of course, not every node has a group, but pretty much most of them, especially in modeling, have this group option, which is really awesome. So now let's output everything. You do your group assignments and materials as usual. I will do that after. But for the last thing, what I want to do and show you is now if I go to the tube and I activate it, this should all be pretty much still, well, not everything works, but the things that we need, they are working. So they're staying procedural. I'm not sure why these aren't procedural, to be honest. I might have a hunch, but yeah, if we need to change, we can easily go here and make some changes. But these parts that are pretty much the base, they are staying procedural. Except this part, which I should have solved differently, but yeah, you can see that everything else staying procedural, which is cool. But yeah, this is just to show you how things can be. If I wanted to make this totally procedural, it would be pretty much possible, no problem. This part I have no idea why is there, to be honest. So anyway, I'll have to investigate, but pretty much that's it. Let's undo everything. And yeah. So I probably have double. Yeah, so what we can do is actually you can just delete what we don't need. Probably my duplicate made this mess, so I will have to see why is that. Let's undo again. Okay. Okay, there is no mess. I probably had a template or visible geometry enabled somewhere with W. So anyway, yeah guys, that would be it. Actually, the last thing you should do is select everything and just match size it like this, so that we are getting this on top of the plane. And if we go out now, this is not updating for some reason. With our match size, and I know what's happening. Our output was not the last node, so that was the problem. Now things will work. And let's make sure that, yeah, this looks much better now. So now we need to reset this white translation, and we can uniformly scale here in case this seems too big. We can now go to lobs, render again, and that's it. So yeah guys, I think this is really nice looking barrel. We can do so much around it, but it's already again 1 hour into this tutorial. And yeah, as usual, stay safe, and hopefully guys, you'll learn something. See you in the next video. Bye bye.